Wolves, jackals with our visions and our schools. Low rent role models or role models of fools. Our heroes are transparent, they only play for the buck.
Okay, so last couple assignments we've had have been all about like imagination, symbols, and that kind of thing. Now we're going to try to get into the right side of the brain. And the right side of the brain, or the right hemisphere of the brain, is really kind of the part that can show, judge distance, space, angle. It's why you can throw a ball to somebody and it actually makes it there. Um, it's the targeting skills. It is the drawing skills, the drawing and painting skills. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can make yourself better at this. And a lot of it is just slowing down. Because what happens when you are dealing with your mind is, since you spend so much time in your left brain at school doing categorizing and letters and sentence structure and math, um, the left brain wants to do everything because it's being used all the time. It's like, it's my job. And we have to make it bored. We have to go slow enough when we draw that the left brain goes, this is stupid. I'm going to give this job to somebody else. And then generally, what happens if you go slow enough, the right brain kicks in and the right brain can do it. And that's why I say a drawing, painting, art is a lot easier to learn than sentence structure or English or math, but nobody puts any effort into it because they don't make you do it in school, right? Very rarely do you hear, I'm very concerned about Bobby's art grades. It'd be nice to hear. It just isn't happening. um, but on the upside, Bobby becomes a great artist, and that doesn't mean you have to be a famous artist. You could be somebody who works in the movies, designs sets, designs costuming, designs weapons, because believe it or not, that's actually a subsection of designing in the movies. Might do storyboards, could be an animator. There are a ton of fields for a ton of work in the field for artists, and you don't have to spend all day, sanding floors and breaking your back to earn a living. You might live a little healthier, a little longer. That's questionable with artists too. All right, so what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to go over to my drawing table. Let's see what's there. Got a good sheet of blank paper. Bum, bum. And what you're going to attempt is what's known as a contour line. Now, what a contour line is, it's an unbroken line. You're not going to lift your pencil from the paper. And this does take a little bit of time to do, and you do need to concentrate. And if you mess up, you just got to live with it, right? So as I start to draw my hand, I am slowly trying to connect my eye with my pencil. And the slower I go, the more detail I will see. If you have to get from one place to another, you just backtrack. If something is a lighter line, you just use less pressure. Now, luckily, you have a nice young hand without all these wrinkles on it. So, your chances of doing this drawing quicker might actually be a thing. You see, I'm working on one thing at a time. And before you start to wonder, why do I have one long thumbnail? I use it when I play bass guitar. So I go from finger style method to thumb method to slap and pop. All right. I'm seeing a lot of wrinkles in this hand. And you can see I'm going very lightly, because while certain wrinkles are darker, other wrinkles are not. So the important thing is to just keep looking at it, do the best you can do. If you got to go back over an area, go back over an area. It's not a race. I'd rather see one of these done really well than 15 of them horribly rushed. And the other thing you'll find out when you start to draw, well, you might not find it out in this class because there's nobody else around, but when you are in your right brain, it is much harder to actually talk. See, now I'm having to go back over these lines. Talking becomes difficult. Believe it or not, hearing becomes difficult when you're in your right brain. So if you've ever been doing something and you're really, really into it, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, look how late it is, you were probably in your right brain. Now, I could go back and add a lot more detail on here. Actually, I'll try to come down, at least finish off the meat of my hand here. All right. Don't be worried about doing a complicated pose, because what you think is complicated usually is your hand is blocking a bunch of fingers that you now don't have to draw. All right. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to pose your hand in some non-offensive, the hand that you don't draw with. If you're left-handed, you're posing your right hand. If you're right-handed, you're posing your left hand. You're going to pose that hand in some sort of pose that is a non-offensive, school-appropriate pose. You're going to put your pencil down on your paper. You're going to slowly move your eye around that paper. All right. And I'm going to give you I'll tell you what, I'll give you an entire song to see how far you get. All right. So let me get to YouTube. No, you look at your hand, you try to basically connect your hand with your eyes with your pencil. So you're looking at your hand, just like I was doing, and then you slowly try to move your eye around the outline, and then you can go back into the fingers. And if you've got any scars, if you've got any sort of folds, wrinkles, chipped nail, there's a couple different parts of the fingernail. That's okay. It can look bad. This is why we're doing this. It's all practice. All right. So you got your first one done. Now I'm going to have you do a second one. I'm going to have you pose it in a different pose, and we'll go from there. All right. Really try to slow yourself down. If it's looking bad, it's probably because you're still going a little too fast. And that basically means your left brain's trying to do the drawing. And what your left brain wants to do with hands or with anything it draws is it wants those symbols. So, like, even if we were to draw a superhero right now, we'd probably break him down into simple shapes, right? He'd have an oval for a head. He'd have bread rolls for shoulders. He'd have teardrops for his forearms. That's all left brain. When we draw from our right brain, we are just letting our eyes look at what we're seeing and then move the pencil in what our eyes are telling us. And that's a hard connection to get. So it's basically the slower you go, the better chance you have of connecting with the right brain. Just like if somebody fills up your cup too high, yeah, you can walk across the room with it, but you got to move really slow or it's going to spill everywhere. Same kind of thing. All right. So pose your hand again. It should probably take you more than a minute and a half to dry your hand. Draw it big. Like if you're drawing it the size of a postage stamp, you guys don't even know what a postage stamp is. Um, if it's smaller than half of a playing card, it's probably too small. You should probably go a little bigger. Bigger you go, the more details you can put. All right. On your marks, get set. All right. All right, then try to get the details. Unless you have flawless hands. And in that case, become a hand model. It's a lot of money for not doing anything. All right. On your marks, get set. New pose. Non-offensive. Go. All right. So how you doing? Did you finish it? Or are you still working? All right. Cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do. And good to see you, Steve. We're going to try to do one. And I know you're not happy probably with what you did now, because even when you do a contour line, it's kind of a drunk line. It wavers. You end up going back over areas that you didn't mean to. Sometimes you're emphasizing things you didn't mean to emphasize. So it looks like somebody's a little intoxicated whenever they do a contour line. But this last one's going to look like you're just messed up hard because you're not going to look at your paper. And I will do one so you can kind of see what it's like. All right. This is called blind contour. And what it does is it hopefully starts to make you feel what it's like when you're in your right brain. Now, it's not going to be a good drawing. If it's a good drawing, you probably cheated. So don't feel bad if it looks horrible. All right? That's purpose of it is not to make something pretty. All right? So I am going to pose my hand, right? And I'm going to actually kind of turn away from my drawing and I'm going to try the best I can not to look at it. I'm trying to find a way where I could demonstrate this without looking at my paper and you guys being able to see it. Yeah, that's not going to work. And maybe like this. If I really make a conscious effort not to look at my paper. Okay, so I'm going to pick a spot somewhere on the paper, hopefully on an area where you got a lot of room. And I'm just going to start to attempt to go around my finger without looking at what I am drawing. And this is a method of concentration that is really, really difficult. But there are people who get good at it after a while. Of course, they're usually drawing about 8 hours a day. So that helps. And this really is such a challenge to your brain that you will feel the struggle. And the struggle will be real. And I buried my other drawing with it. All right. So, yeah, that's what a blind contour looks like is you don't look at your paper. And really what this is, I'm not kidding you. This is so you can feel that struggle in your brain. Because when you can start to recognize that struggle in your brain, then you know what it feels like to start to head toward that right brain. And the slower you go into that right brain, the more concentration you have, the better the drawing is going to be. So I'm going to give you, I'll find a short song. All right. On your marks. Now you're going to not look at your paper. If you want to turn away from your desk, put one hand up on the desk. Remember where you're at on the paper with your pencil. You're not lifting the pencil. Face away from your desk, look at your hand, and try to draw that. On your marks, get set, go. All right, so now we did the blind contour, and that was one way of kind of recognizing what your brain feels like when it's struggling, when you're trying to get into your right brain. Because you really can pop in there quickly. It's just got to be something that you believe you can do. Like when you throw a basketball, you don't really think about it that much. You don't tell your hand to move a certain way. You just go basket, and maybe 1 out of 10 times, maybe 2 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10. You might be that connected to your right brain where it's a natural thing. That's what we're trying to get you into. We're trying to get you to feel what that feels like. All right. So now we're going to do another one that's going to be a bit of a struggle. We're going to use the opposite hand. So whatever pencil your hand normally is in, throw it in the other one. Okay. Well, the video for this will be up. So if you need to do this later, that's fine too, Steve. All right. So we're going to have you put your pencil in the wrong hand. For me, that unfortunately is going to be my right hand. Oh, this is going to be bad. All right. This time you can look at your paper. All right. But this also should be very, very slow. And you might be saying to yourself, well, what's the point of this? I'm never going to draw with my wrong hand. Yeah, but you know what? You can probably throw things almost equally well with both hands. So it's really not about your hand, it's about your brain. What can your brain feel? What can your brain do? And once again, these are still contour lines, so we're trying not to lift our pencil off our paper. I know when people see this, they're like, how does he draw left-handed? And I always think, how do you guys draw right-handed? Ah, I would tell you I really broke concentration there, but unfortunately it's completely obvious. I don't know why this hand's looking like a creepy skeleton hand. Lifeline, love line, wealth line. No, I'm missing my love line here. All right, so if you want a crash course in palm reading, this is your lifeline. Should be your dominant hand, though. With me, that's a little bit difficult because I use hands for different things. If you have any little cuts in here and little breaks, that means something traumatic happened in your life. Could be health. Could be something happened to somebody else that messed you up. If you look at this, this is your love line. See that? That girl broke my heart right there, right there. And then this is your wealth line. Hopefully, most people wealth lines start to head up as they get older. But if you see a break from this line to your love line to your wealth line, that means she took all your money. That's a sad break. All right. So opposite hand. On your marks, get set. This one's going to be a bit of a struggle too. And go. All right, guys. So I'm assuming you're cleaning up. I'm going to let you go for today. Have yourself a good day. Stay warm. It's going to be getting better this week. Hopefully, it will remain better till spring. All right. Stay out of trouble. If you can't stay out of trouble, don't get caught. And bye.